So it might not even be November yet, but I've already got my eyes on Super Rugby for next year. Some teams have already made signings. Some have been busier than others, but I thought we'd have a quick look how the transfers looking for 2019. Which players are being brought in, which guys are being shuffled around. Obviously, closer to the season, I'll do a full preview for each team. But right now, it's just interesting. I'm sure there'll be more in the lead up to the season, but just to look kind of at who's already confirmed for which team. Obviously, not every team is on here. Not every team's been that busy. The South African team's notably quite quiet. I would imagine that's something to do with the Currie Cup needing to be done first. South African experts can educate me on that. But yeah, we'll have a look at some of these names and you guys can tell me kind of who you're excited about seeing. One name in particular was kind of the catalyst for me doing this video, but we'll go through these. So start with my Blues. They have made a couple of signings. I guess both kind of exciting in their own way. The first one is Carl Tunukuafe. Really impressive signing for the Blues, coming over from the Chiefs, where he had a kind of meteoric rise from nothing to an All Blacks starting loose head position. So he should add to that scrum alongside Ofatu'ungafasi. So it's going to be two All Black props starting for the Blues hopefully next season. James Parsons possibly at hooker, former All Black. So it's a pretty big boost. Ma'anonu, 36 years old, back to New Zealand rugby. Perhaps less exciting from a rugby standpoint, but definitely in that true Blues tradition of wanting to put bums on seats. That's a guy for it. So with Sonny Bill, I think 33, and Nonu 36, that will be one of the oldest midfields in the competition if they get put in together. But I guess we'll see how they go. I'll see how they go before I kind of... My instinct is to be critical of that signing, let's just put it that way, but I guess I shouldn't be so negative. It just comes with being a Blues supporter for so many years. The Brumbies have been pretty busy. They're not limited by any means. All these teams not limited. There are other teams off here who've made signings as well. I've just kind of put some of the bigger names on here. Brumbies a bit busy though. James Slipper from the Reds obviously had issues with his with drugs and with mental health, but hopefully he's on the right track now. Change the location down to Canberra should hopefully prove a kind of way to rejuvenate his career. Very good signing for me. Pete Samu from the Crusaders, another one. He's decided he wants to be a Wallaby. He's signed up with Checker, so he's got to be in an Aussie team. He's going to be playing for the Brumbies, and he's a class player. There were some Crusaders fans who called that, you know, we kind of missed an opportunity by not signing him for the All Blacks because he was eligible for both, having played in New Zealand long enough, although he is an Aussie. And last one, Tony Pulu, again from the Chiefs. He's been pretty good form for Mitre 10 Cup, so he is a guy with a bit of gas, and again, still yet to make his mind up where he's going to play internationally, but a move to the Brumbies would kind of seem to be nodding that he's interested in that direction. For the Crusaders, their roster is going to be pretty much the same next year from the looks of things, but they've added to an already impressive roster with Fetu Douglas. He's been back for a while now, but he left the start of last season. After starting the season, he went off to start his contract at Benetton. Couldn't get out of it. I think he would have stayed if he had had the option because he was playing really well. But with Samu leaving, he's a good signing to kind of step in there. Very good player. He didn't disgrace the Crusaders jersey by any means. He just amplified his own performances in that thing. So yeah, that Crusaders team next year is going to be really good. For the Highlanders, obviously one of their big names to go was Lima Sopoaga. So to have Bryn Gatlin come down from the Blues is going to be an interesting one to watch. So many players leave the Blues and go on to do great things. Bryn showed in some games he played really well. I think even against the Highlanders he played pretty well last season when he was given the top job. It was kind of between him and Perifeta in the season just gone. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if he goes down to Dunedin and becomes a world beater. It would be kind of fit to the story of players leaving the Blues, but I guess we'll wait and see. It's no guarantee he'll get the top job because, yeah, I think Josh Ioane is going to be there as well next year. So he's been playing pretty well in Mitre 10 as well. I guess we'll wait and see. There was talk of Quade Cooper going down to the Highlanders, but that never happened. Hurricanes, James Marshall's coming back from his time overseas, obviously former Hurricane, so he should fit in pretty nicely, good utility player. And not really a signing, but John Plumtree is taking over. How he goes in the top job will be one to watch. Again, another coaching change for the Jaguares. They got their gear on today. Playing stocks, I don't think I've seen too much in the way of movement, although Nico Sanchez is leaving, which is going to be huge. But coaching staff, Mario Ledesma obviously going to the Pumas means they needed a new coach. They've gone with Gonzalo Quesada, former Puma himself, and he has been coaching in France for many years. So it's a guy with top level coaching experience, which is probably going to be helpful. Obviously, Argentina has perhaps a little bit of a gap between guys, especially in coaching, going from amateur level to professional, and it is a big jump, so it's good that he's already got that experience under his belt. For the Lions, Danny Mini, I'm not sure how you pronounce that name, to be fair. From what I remember about him, he always seems to be the guy who comes off the bench, but I could be mistaken. Definitely needed because they lost Van Rooyen and Dreyer to contracts overseas, so yeah, the propping stocks needed replenishing in Johannesburg, so a good signing. I'll wait to see how he goes. I believe he's been playing Currie Cup, but again, South African fans can kind of update me on how he's been going if he's been there for this Currie Cup season. Rebels, probably our biggest movers and some of the biggest names on the board. They've got Luke Jones coming back. He's a former Wallaby. Should add something to their loose forwards. Nasarani replaces Murphy, who's been one of the best number 8s in the competition from the Brumbies, so he's another dynamic player. Matt Tamua, coming back from Leicester, so he's been in the Wallabies setup recently, so he's going to, I would say, be a starter. And the guy who I said was probably a reason for me doing this video, old Quade Cooper, he's going to get booed when he plays New Zealand teams, that is for sure, but he's a great signing. He put out an Instagram post. Was it Instagram or was it Twitter? I think it was Instagram, of him giving Brad Thorne a fend in the World Cup 2011 because, yeah, him and old Brad Thorne didn't get on that well, so Brad didn't have him playing at the Reds. He's got a contract now with the Rebels. There's some kids walk past my house. But that's good news because he's an exciting guy. Whether you love him or you hate him, he's an entertaining guy to watch. He's not going to kind of be a boring guy when he's on the field. So that's a very good thing for us rugby fans to see him back in action and perhaps even pushing for a Wallaby spot heading into World Cup year. Sunwolves, Rene Ranger, who's been tearing it up in Mitre 10 Cup. Kind of a blast from the past. Yeah, he signed for the Sunwolves, so he should be a very welcome addition to them. He's another guy who's always exciting and a bit of a character. And Tony Brown has confirmed that he'll take over as coach from Jamie Joseph, who's going to focus solely on his kind of Japan duties. So, yeah, those are some of the biggest signings. Obviously, there are other teams. The Waratahs, I think, have been pretty quiet. The Reds, from memory, have signed up a few young guys that I'm not really that familiar with. Chiefs, I don't recall any signings. The three South African teams, the Sharks, the Stormers, and the Bulls, I think each of them have kind of made maybe one signing, but no kind of big names as far as I'm aware. But again, if there's other news coming out that I have missed, please do add those in the comments because I'd be keen to know as we look forward to a Super Rugby season next year. It is still pretty far away. We've still got November Test, we've still got Six Nations, and Currie Cup's not even finished, Mitre 10 Cup's not finished. But yeah, it's just an early look at Super Rugby for next year. Some of the guys that have been kind of moving about and who we can look forward to seeing, and perhaps for new teams next year. You guys let me know your thoughts on these signings. Who are you looking forward to seeing? Who else is here that I have forgotten to mention? Obviously, there's a whole bunch of guys leaving, but I'll talk about that a bit more when I do the previews for kind of team by teams. But yeah, that's pretty much it for this one. As I said, you guys let me know your thoughts, and yeah, I'll talk to you again soon. See you later.